Why grieving after narcissistic abuse is quintessential. This is printed in pinchofattitude.com. In this article, they dive into why grieving after narcissistic abuse is not only normal, but a very important step in reclaiming your life and sanity. Key takeaways. Grieving after narcissistic abuse is essential for emotional detox, helping you process and release the pain and confusion caused by the toxic relationship. Fully experiencing grief allows you to rebuild self-trust again, gain clarity on the past, and avoid repeating destructive patterns in future relationships. Embracing grief is crucial for reclaiming your self-worth and paving the way to a joyful, empowered life after abuse. When you're involved with a narcissist, your entire world gets warped. The person you fell for loved, the life you thought you were building, and the love you believed you had, it all starts to unravel. Once you step out of that toxic fog, the reality hits like a ton of bricks. This is where grief comes in. You're not just mourning the loss of a relationship. You're grieving the person you thought they were, the future you envisioned, and even parts of yourself that got lost along the way. The loss of illusions. One of the hardest pills to swallow is the realization that the person you love was a facade. Narcissists are experts at creating an idealized version of themselves to hook you in. You might have loved them deeply, but it was an illusion, one meticulously crafted to manipulate and control you. Grieving this loss is essential because it allows you to let go of the false image and start seeing things for what they really are. It's the first step in breaking the trauma bond and setting yourself free. Mourning who you were. Before the narcissist, you were someone else. Maybe you were more confident, more carefree, more you. But narcissistic abuse changes you. It erodes your self-esteem, fills you with self-doubt, and often leaves you questioning your own reality. Grieving who you were before the abuse is a vital part of healing. It's about acknowledging that you've lost parts of yourself, but also recognizing that you have the power to rebuild and become even stronger. It's okay to feel conflicted. After leaving a narcissistic relationship, whether they're your family, friends, or lover, your emotions might feel like a chaotic storm. You could be angry, sad, relieved, and guilty all at once. The complexity of these feelings can be overwhelming, and it's important to understand that it's all part of the grieving process. Anger and sadness, two sides of the same coin. It's normal to feel anger towards the narcissist for what they did to you. This anger is a natural reaction to the betrayal and manipulation you endured. But right alongside that anger, you might feel a profound sadness. Not necessarily for them, but for what could have been. These conflicting emotions are a part of grieving, and accepting them is crucial for moving forward. The guilt trap. You might also experience guilt for staying as long as you did, guilt for falling for their lies, or even guilt for leaving. This is a common emotion, and it's one you must confront. Understand that the narcissist is a master manipulator, and that they likely conditioned you to feel responsible for the relationship's failure. Letting go of this guilt is essential for your emotional freedom. Why grieving is very important for true healing. Grief isn't something you can skip over or speed through. It's a necessary process that helps you come to terms with your reality. Without fully experiencing and processing your grief, you risk carrying unresolved emotions into your future relationships and even back into the same toxic patterns. But why exactly is grieving such a critical part of healing after narcissistic abuse? Grieving is the foundation of emotional detox. Think of grief as an emotional detox. When you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, your emotional system gets flooded with toxic energy, fear, doubt, anger, confusion. Grieving is like flushing all that poison out of your system. It's not pleasant, and it definitely doesn't happen overnight, but it's absolutely essential. Just like your body needs time to cleanse itself after a night of bad decisions, your emotions need time to purge the trauma. Skipping this step is like ignoring the hangover and going straight to another round of shots. Tempting, but ultimately disastrous. Grieving brings clarity. When you're caught up in a narcissistic relationship, it's like you're living in a fog. The narcissist's manipulation and gaslighting keeps you constantly questioning your reality. After the relationship ends, grief is what clears that fog away. It's through the grieving process that you can start to see things for what they really are and were. You begin to understand the depth of the manipulation and the extent of the lies, and how deeply you were affected. This clarity is painful, yes, but it's incredibly liberating. It allows you to separate the truth from the lies and start building a new, more honest narrative for yourself. Grieving helps you rebuild trust in yourself. Narcissistic abuse does a number on your self-trust. The constant manipulation can leave you feeling questioning your own judgment, doubting your perceptions, and feeling like you can't trust yourself anymore. Grieving is a way to reconnect with your inner truth. As you work through the pain and the loss, you start to rebuild that trust in yourself. You begin to recognize that your feelings were valid, that your instincts were often right, and even if they were clouded by the narcissist influence. In a narcissistic relationship, you're often forced to suppress your emotions, whether it's to avoid triggering the narcissist's wrath, or because you've been conditioned to believe your feelings don't matter. You learn to bottle things up. Grieving after the relationship ends is like opening up that emotional bottle and finally letting everything out. It's an opportunity to feel everything you couldn't feel while you were still in the relationship: anger, sadness, disappointment, or relief. This release is crucial because those pent-up emotions, if left unchecked, can lead to long-term emotional and physical health issues. Grieving prevents repetition of the cycle. One of the scariest things about leaving a narcissistic relationship is the fear that you might end up in another one. Without fully grieving and processing the experience, there's a risk that you could repeat the same patterns. Grieving allows you to dissect the relationship, Understand the red flags you missed and recognize the parts of yourself that were vulnerable to the narcissist's manipulation. By doing this deeply emotional work, you're equipping yourself with the tools and awareness needed to avoid falling into similar toxic dynamics in the future. It's like grief gives you a roadmap to navigate away from the old destructive paths and towards healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Grieving helps you rediscover joy. It might sound strange, but grief can lead to joy. After all the tears, the anger, and the heartbreak, there comes a time when you start to feel lighter. That's because grief, when fully processed, makes space for new emotions: hope, excitement, happiness. You start to reconnect with the things that bring you joy, the activities that make you feel alive, and the people who genuinely care for you. Without going through the grief, these moments of joy can feel out of reach. Grieving gives you permission to move forward, to seek out new experiences and embrace the happiness that you might have forgotten existed. Grieving restores your sense of self-worth. Perhaps one of the most insidious aspects of narcissistic abuse is how it erodes your sense of self-worth. You may have been made to feel like you're not good enough, like you're lucky to have the narcissist, or like you deserve the treatment you received. Grieving helps you challenge and dismantle these harmful beliefs. As you process the abuse, you start to see that the narcissist's actions were a reflection of them, not you. You begin to reclaim your value, recognizing that you deserve respect, kindness, and love. This restored sense of self-worth is essential for your overall healing and for setting the standards for how you want to be treated in future relationships. How to navigate your grief. Grieving after narcissistic abuse is a deeply personal journey, but there are practical steps you can take to help navigate this emotional terrain. Acknowledge your feelings. The first step in dealing with your grief is acknowledging it. Don't try to push your feelings away or pretend they don't exist. Give yourself permission to feel everything, even if it's painful or confusing. Write in a journal, talk to a therapist, or confide in a trusted friend. Just get those feelings out in the open. Take time to reflect. Reflection is a powerful tool during the grieving process. Take some time to think about what you've been through, what you've lost, and what you've learned. That doesn't mean dwelling on the past, but rather understanding it so you can move forward with clarity and purpose. Create new routines. Narcissistic relationships can leave you feeling disoriented and disconnected from your own life. Creating new routines can help ground you and give you a sense of control. Whether it's starting a new hobby, setting fitness goals, or simply sticking to a daily schedule, these routines can be incredibly healing. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself during this time. You've been through a lot, and healing is not a linear process. There will be good days and bad days, and that's okay. Practice self-compassion by giving yourself grace and understanding as you work through your grief. Why is grieving important after narcissistic abuse? It's important because it helps you process and release the emotional trauma caused by the abuse. And how does grieving help in rebuilding self-worth? Although it may seem counterintuitive, this grief is a sign that you're on the right path toward healing.